Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I am your host of the Trap or Dive Podcast, Mual. The full crew is in here, man. Dre is in the building. AJ is in the building. Administrative items, you know what we brought to you by, man, Underdog Fantasy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're on the YouTube side of things. Twitch, Twitter, what's up? I see you. Appreciate y'all checking in. How which way you are watching, man. Welcome to the show. Audio side, man, make sure you hit that follow button, rate and review if you can. It takes 10 seconds to do so, and it's free to show your support that away. Benz, I see you. Monty, what's up? Amani, what's up? The Trapper, what's up to all the trappers that's checking in? Woo! It's been a long. What is it? What's today? Thursday, man. It's been a long week for your boy. Solo Kenny, what's up? Check in with y'all, man. Dre, AJ, what's going on? How y'all feeling, bro?
I'm cooler, man. How are you?
I'm good. Dre, right before we started the show, he said, man, how was Colombia? And I gave him this look. Like, brother, man, if I could have stayed a week, I would have. I feel like time just, I don't know if this makes sense, but time stopped, but also flew by at the same time. Like it went so fast, but like the days were just long, like in a good way. Like, also it's probably the case that it was an area that I never been to before, so it was just a whole different type of experience. It also helps when you ain't got to think about your fucking job. or have no responsibilities, bro. You just wake up when you want to, go to sleep when you want to. You can stay up like every night. I'm in bed at 6 a.m. Like I ain't going to fucking sleep, nigga. And I got a belly full of tequila, bro. It was a great time.
I definitely understand. I mean, everything is brand new to you out there, so it's like you can't believe that certain shit is happening in front of your face. The weather's nice. There's a lot of things to look at. A lot of different experiences. So yeah, it definitely flies by quick, man. Definitely got to run that back.
Yeah, I already started. First thing I did, my first day back today at the job was I spent the first hour and a half looking up the times of the year to go to Medellin. And I got flights saved. I'm like, yo, if I can make this happen, bro, I need to find at least 1 or 2 more people to roll with me, bro, so I can make that trip. We got the B&Bs already because that's where I was gonna go at first, and then we switched it to Cartagena. So
okay, I'm
gonna stay at one of those spots. But yeah, bro, it was a hell of a time, man. While I was gone and we talked, I've been on Twitter here and there. We got a couple updates from the Commanders in their staff search, right? DJ Williams signed as the quarterback's coach for the Commanders, but not before David Blough was hired as the new Commanders OC. He was promoted, elevated, following an interview. I think he did have the interview with Detroit, right? Or was he scheduled? I think he had the interview.
I think he did.
It was scheduled.
Okay, so he didn't have the interview yet. Okay, so he elevated / promoted, hired as OC prior to his interview with the Detroit Lions. I have plenty of thoughts, and I'm glad. I'm actually glad that this is our first show back since the news transactions, because it gave me plenty of time to think about like where I'm really at with this hire. It's mixy. I'm gonna give y'all the floor first. I'll share my thoughts afterwards. But what are y'all? Where are y'all at with David Blough as Washington and Dan Quinn decides to hitch his wagon to the first time OC?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's been a weird feeling because it was unexpected, but at the same time, I remember having a conversation with y'all like a week or so before, and I was like, "What if it's just somebody on staff?" And AJ was like, "Ain't no way that's gonna happen." I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me, even though I don't think it's what they should do. But the thing that's weird for me about the David Blau situation is, I mean, he's young, he's inexperienced, and it feels weird to kind of go that route in your third year as Dan Quinn, especially coming off the year that you had. And my thought was when they got rid of Cliff Kingsbury, especially as soon as they did, they one day after the press conference that Adam Peters and Dan Quinn had, they let Kingsbury go, and I'm like, at this point, they gotta have his replacement in mind. So they must have knew that David Blau was probably going to be high up on the list. I don't know how serious the Mike McDaniel talk was. I don't know if they wanted to wait him out, or they didn't. They just didn't want to wait him out, or if Blau was just this high on the list. But with that comes the weird feeling of if David Blau is everything they say he is, or everything at least they think he is, the boy genius, the next thing coming in the NFL, that means you're going to have a successful season, a really successful season on offense, at least if he's everything out of the gate. And the thing that worries me is if that happens, of course, the team should be good, but that guy's probably out of the door soon. Like, that's one of the risks of that happening. And I would rather keep him versus letting him out the door. But how do you get rid of a head coach who just had a good year? So that's the weird conundrum. But then the other side of it is, it's also a risk because he's never called plays before. We don't know anything about David Blau. Like, we don't know what his system's going to be. We don't know how he is in games and setting things up, as far as like how he sees the game. Like, we've heard he can design a couple of plays and everything, but that's a complete different story from calling a game. So with that, if he's bad, then you're having another bad season, and Dan Quinn's probably fired. I mean, I know some people don't think he's probably on the hot seat or whatever, but how long can you give him with this risky of a move? So you look at it a couple of ways. Even if it's successful, you have a really tough decision to make. Do you keep a David Blau around, or do you make the difficult decision of saying, man, before anybody else hires this guy because he's the next big thing, you make the difficult decision of firing a Dan Quinn? So it's a lot of different ways. Obviously, I hope it works out and you have the good problem, which is that problem I just named. But again, we know nothing about this guy. So for me, it's hard to say I'm excited about the hire. I mean, it's intriguing because, the unknown is always intriguing. But I just simply don't know enough at this point to say, I'm happy or ecstatic about anything. It's just I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, for me with the David Blau hire, yeah, it's just kind of like we just gotta wait and see because we don't know anything. We don't know philosophy. Hasn't been a presser yet. We don't know who the staff is going to be made up of to provide some type of support from a veteran standpoint of calling plays. We don't know anything, so it's hard to project what's going to happen from the offensive side of the ball, from free agency to possibly even the draft. Don't know anything. And I think that's where it's an interesting decision by Dan Quinn. Obviously, this has to be his call, like almost 100% of the way to do this. I mean, we focus on how many like coaches have previously been within the Washington um, facility and staff in the past, but Dan Quinn on his own outside of Washington has a similar thing where it's been Kyle Shanahan, it's been a LaFleur, it's been a Mike McDaniel, Jeff Ulbrich, Raheem Morris, or whatever. But especially on the offensive side of the ball, it feels like from some of the information that I know, and I told y'all probably, but I'm not going to indulge on here, but it just seems like they weren't comfortable waiting on Mike McDaniels um, because of the fact that David Blau did have a pending interview on the table with Detroit, where he has a lot of familiarity with Dan Campbell and so on. So they hurried up and got those things dotted. I don't know if it's done on paper, but that's something that they hurry up and agree to. I mean, just look around the league. No one else has agreed to anything until today. And I still don't know if Harbaugh has actually like officially agreed to become the new head coach of the New York Giants, but they moved pretty damn fast on that OC hire. And it's going to be interesting where Mike McDaniels ends up landing, whether that be a head coaching job or OC job, because I think it's going to fall back on Dan Quinn. I just don't know how you could be this brave with your nuts to put it on the table, knowing that your livelihood, your career as a head coach is on the line, and going with a guy that has never even called plays at any particular level or even been coaching that long in the league to even say, let me just rock with this. But, we're not in those buildings. He could be a smart guy as much as he wants to. He could draw up plays. I mean, I've been drawing up plays since I was a little kid. You feel me? Like, that don't mean that I'm boy wonder or a genius, but it's more so about connecting those play calls together than just having plays drawn up. So we'll see. It's very intriguing and definitely gives us a lot to focus on for Trap or Dive, even how they manage the preseason. And another reason why I feel like I don't know, a part of me sitting back and being able to think on this, a part of me is like, did they want to spend that money on Mike McDaniel or a veteran OC? Did they decide to go cheap? Because that's cheap. If you break it down from a coach's standard, like this is a guy that doesn't have, a bunch of leverage, doesn't have the resume to command a high amount of money, and Cliff is out the door. You owe him a 1 year of a contract. You're also probably going to owe some other position coaches money as well. So all those things kind of tally up over a time, and I just don't know. I guess I'm waiting to see to make that final determination. But I think whoever they hire as DC will give me a good glimpse into that. Now, if they go and get Brian Flores, I'm gonna know that they spent some money, big time. But even the candidates that they were interested in, it just gave out we're running some favor, like we're doing some favors here to get some guys in the office just to feel what that preparation of doing these interviews feels like.
Um, so I think Blough is interesting. I think when you look at for all some of the reasons that you both said, when I look at somebody of his nature, like I think immediately, and for me, and maybe for others, and for people that's listening, you may have said already that Dan Quinn is on the hot seat after his 2025 campaign. I think if you look at this objectively, locally, you may have a reason or understanding of why Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn parted ways. But like, this is also a person that Dan Quinn chose to bring in. So the decision to fire Cliff after 2 years out of his on his 3-year deal, that's putting yourself on the clock. All right, well, who's going to be my next hire? One thing for me, I've always said during this period, since even our last show, what I want on both sides of the ball, let me rephrase that. What I want from the offensive coordinator is give me competency. You have Jaden Daniels, so like, give me competency, give me somebody who understands an offense. Give me NFL offenses. Give me somebody who knows how to call a game, who can build on his strength and understand what his strength is and lean on it, right? And defensively, get a superstar. I ain't know who it was. I don't know who it was. The Brian Flores thing is interesting. We'll get to the defensive side later, but offensively, I'm like, yo, get competency. And Dan Quinn decided to go against the grain. Not an insult to David Blough. I'm saying from my expectation or what I wanted or what I thought they would have gotten, or should have gotten, excuse me, is somebody where he said, I'm going to go with somebody who I've come to know over the last 2 years, who I've heard positive things about during his tenure in Detroit and Arizona, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to take this leap of faith on this young, inexperienced guy and forbid the other options out there as an offensive coordinator. What you're giving up. Like I'm super, side note, while I'm saying all this, I'm super interested in seeing what a David Blough offense looks like. Dre, you mentioned it. The way that they talk about him, like, all right, y'all got all this big dog talk about who he is. Sure, I acknowledge there's gonna be some bumps on the road, but let's see if all that hype and all that faith in that praise that you have for him, if it meets exactly what you need in his offense next year, right? So I'm super interested in the David Blough concept, but my concerns is like exactly why I wanted competency, or experience is probably the right word, because I don't want to like assume or make it seem like I'm saying that David is incompetent. But bro, like, where is somebody who has experiences against certain defenses throughout the league? Where is somebody who can, when he's getting, like, it's this one thing that he just can't seem to stop from a protection standpoint, or from a stunt standpoint, or from a coverage standpoint? Like, where is that person who is thinking on the fly, and able to in the moment get that play call right that gets the offense back on track? We also don't know how he's going to communicate. One of the things that I thought about is like, yo, how many people in that on that offensive staff right now who's still around said, you motherfuckers passed up me for this 30-year-old, 31-year-old? Anthony Lynn on that team. The dude from Philly? Brian Johnson. Those are the two immediate ones that come to mind. Like, y'all passed me up for Blough. So it's not like there's animosity there, but more so like, how is Blough going to be able to earn their respect as a first timer? And will there be any friction from that standpoint, right? Because now you went from assistant in a sense to now like leading a whole room, commanding a whole room, communicating your issues or communicating your good and your bad to your head coach, right? And having conversations with all the 24 people that's going to be on your side of the ball. So that's what I think about when I say, Dan, you took that risk after the season you just had. I can't wait to see what David Blough looked like. I can't wait. But I thought you would have gone for a little bit more experience on that side of the ball, from a competency standpoint, experience. He ain't had to be elite. I would expect elite or superstar on the defensive side when it comes to hires.
I mean, I think one of the greatest things that could happen for David Blough in this hiring process is possibly acquiring a Brian Flores, giving him the opportunity to see that type of style defense on a regular basis within practice. Because, I mean, like we said, he's never had to call a play, from an offensive coordinator position in those dynamics ever before. It's completely different. And I don't think he has an issue with communicating. I mean, he's a quarterback, whether if he was good or bad as a quarterback in the NFL, that's up to your own discretion to come up with. But the thing is, for Dan Quinn, you don't necessarily have the luxury of allowing him to start slow and get his footing. That's the main issue. You don't have that luxury, because he needs to start fast and they need to get the ball rolling immediately. And even preseason, Like, there's no sitting down Jaden Daniels or some of the starters in preseason because you need those live reps. He needs those reps calling those plays and getting it into Jaden Daniels. So it's just a weird dynamic overall. I just saw it as being impatient. But I guess we'll see what the rest of the cast is built up of. I think that Anthony Lynn and Brian Johnson have been in the league long enough to know how this works. Guys that typically look like us that are doing the show, Trap or Dive, and look like them, they don't get those boy wonder, looks or pushed up the level like, maybe a David Blough is getting at this moment. And it's happening all across sports. I mean, even here in DC, the Washington Nationals new manager is what, 33?
Baseball does it a lot different though. They
Yeah.
go real young with it. So this could be
Yeah,
one of
but
those trendy
but I
moves,
mean, it's typically not people that look like us. I ain't
Yeah.
necessarily trying to play the race game, but like on the opposite side of the ball, the last couple guys that they mentioned to be like boy wonders in the sense possibly offensively have been Thomas Brown, and he's been getting bounced around the league from Panthers to Chicago to I think he might be in he's in New England right now. So that just tells you like you don't really get those breaks. And even you got the guy that you mentioned, Scholastic.
Skill house.
Yeah, but you got him. He's rumored to be, one of those guys. We'll see if he gets one of these 8 jobs remaining. It's a lot of damn openings. So, yeah, I just think that that's the intriguing part right now is we have no clue what to anticipate from this offense, and we really won't know until we get to free agency how it's going to look because we don't have no case study. Like people can sit back and be like, "Oh, yeah, he played under KOC
Oh my God,
and
I'm glad you
and
brought that up,
and
bro.
and Ben Johnson," but people also
I,
forget he got drafted to the Browns, I believe, and he was under Freddie Kitchens. Like,
but
what?
also like some of the plays, that's what one thing that about like some of the plays that he brought to Detroit because people love to reference the plays that he drew up for dude that's the head coach now in Chicago.
Ben
Um,
Johnson.
yeah, Ben Johnson. Like he got that from Purdue. So how much the depth of knowledge that he has, like in terms of like play calling or excuse me, plays to draw up, can come from anywhere of his background. So to assume that like he's going to implement one thing or like all because some of his coaches in the NFL, like I get it. Like certain schematic principles will make sense, but nobody knows anything and to assume that you're going to expect a blend of just names, popular names that you can think of and think that that's the offense. No, you don't know anything. And like I feel for anybody who's going to waste their time this offseason trying to put together what a David Blough offense is going to look like in the film session. I'm not even wasting my time. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I
Bro.
think it would be very foolish of anyone to sit there and think they could put 2 and 2 together. Because I mean, he's been a quarterback his whole life. He's been drawing up plays forever, so he got a book. You feel me? Like he's gonna take references from a lot of places, but at the end of the day, truly don't know what this man offense could look like. Who knows if he may not be trying to become the next Cliff Kingsbury? With a different philosophy. Maybe instead of an air raid, I want to have a Boilermaker. You feel me? Like we don't know. We have no clue. And I only people that would know is Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, but and maybe like the guys that have been in that room, but we have no clue what this offense is gonna look like. We just think that it's gonna be more run focused, cool, but how does that truly marriage with the pass and how does that create the balance overall for you in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for me, it's it's hard to get excited about to the point where, to be honest with you, I haven't read any articles, I haven't listened to any podcasts talking about David Blough because everybody knows what I know about the guy pretty much, and we just know his Wikipedia background. Like, we can go on Wikipedia, look where he worked at, where he played at. That's it. We have no clue. For all we know, he might run Cliff Kingsbury's office, but I assume he wouldn't, being as though he had the interview process with Washington, and assuming that Washington went the different way from Cliff Kingsbury because of philosophical differences. I assume that he must be bringing something different to the table, but we don't know this. Again, only the people inside of that building know it. And I can't get excited about anything or say anything about this guy until we see something in action. We won't even know anything in preseason. It's going to be a vanilla offense at preseason. We're not going to know anything until week 1 about how this guy goes about calling a game plan. But even then, you're not going to even know much about him until you start seeing games and see his consistency level, because no one else is going to know. Defensive coordinators are not going to know what David Blough does, and at least for the first couple of games. So we probably can't truly get excited about the guy until mid-season if he's doing it consistently. But again, it's like, this is a very risky move for Dan Quinn, because like I said, in year 3, especially after having such a putrid year 2, you have to come out and be a playoff team, or at least look like a playoff contender team. I'm not even saying you have to go out there and beat an NFC championship team again or make it to that game again, but you can't come out and have the season that you had last year. And we are going to be banking on the offense a lot, because we still don't know what we have on the defensive side of the football. Jada's development is important. So it's a lot of unknowns here, but I still want to know who else he's going to get on the staff, because I don't even think it's a guarantee that Brian Johnson or Anthony Lynn stays on staff.
And that's exactly where I was coming from with that angle, bro.
Yeah, because there's been rumors that Anthony Lynn may follow his son up Penn State, and then Brian Johnson, he interviewed for this offensive coordinator job. Who knows? There could be some salty feelings here. Like, dude, I was the associate head coach here. Like, he had that big title after Dan Quinn, on the offense, and he gets interviewed, and he feels like he's probably due. Who knows? I mean, maybe they move on from that. But either way, I mean, I know they just hired DJ Williams, Doug Williams' son, as the quarterback's coach. But you have to wonder what else comes with that, because there has to be some more experience in that room, especially if you think that Anthony Lynn and Brian Johnson, who are probably the veteran guys in that coaching room for the offense, if they may be in flux, if they're not going to be here, you have to add some more experience to the guy. Maybe somebody that's called plays, maybe get a consultant in here or something, because I do think he needs help. I mean, he may be a boy genius. He may be great, but he still probably needs some help from guys who's done it for a while.
For sure. And I mean, O-line coach is still out there, so we got to figure that one out. Here's the last thing. We can get to the defensive side of the ball. I see a lot of Flores conversation in the chat. We're gonna talk about that defense. The last thing I got to say about the offense and that we need to flush out. If you're gonna go with Blough as your offensive coordinator, another thing is you better spend some you're gonna have to spend money, period, on both sides of the ball. But you get what I'm saying. You're gonna have to get some motherfucking dogs on offense. Like, ain't no shortcut in this, because if that talent can't oversee or supersede the coordinator, then good luck. Because you're gonna have to ask this man David Blough to work a miracle in his first year as play caller and offensive coordinator. Find some dogs. Get some people in there who can really turn this ship around in terms of like explosive plays, right? I think Bill is probably the only, he is the only running back who can take things from distance. And he's shown that, right? But from a receiver standpoint, got Terry, and he missed X amount of games, right? But you don't have, and we talked about tight end. I'm not going to rehash these positions, but you get what I'm saying. You need veteran help as well as mixed draft, but you need veteran help, bruh. Find you some dogs that fit whatever it is that you want to do, David. Pay the money, Adam. Find that, get that shit done. Don't worry about if they're a stranger or not. What you talking about? And let's go ahead and make sure that he has all the pieces in place to, if you want this guy to succeed, they need to make sure that there's pieces on running back, tight end, and wide receiver that can help Jaden in his third year and help David Blough in moments where like he may be called the wrong play, but his team, his players made the plays work for him.
Yeah, but what about on the defensive side? I mean, not to get too far into it, but AJ had mentioned a point earlier about saving money and not getting too expensive. But if you notice all the names on the defensive side of the football, they have been all experienced guys versus on the offensive side of the football. I hadn't heard some of these guys' names before that they were interviewing. So to me, it says we want a young man. I don't think it's necessarily an expensive thing. I think they wanted probably a young man on that side of the football, maybe working with Jaden. Maybe they feel like that's best for Jaden to evolve. But it's interesting for me from the defensive side of the football that they are looking at the more experienced guys and the guys that, with the names and the reputations, they all have them. Pretty much every name I've heard on the defensive side of the football, they've all coached the defense at some high level. So to me, I'm wondering if Dan Quinn is like, I'm about to be super hands off this year. And I'm just going to put everything into, my coordinators, let them run the game plans. But again, to me, the whole strategy for Dan Quinn just comes off as risky, like I said, because I know, and again, I keep hearing that, it's not really a hot seat. It's not really a warm seat, but I just don't understand if you, especially with these moves, because these are risky moves. I don't understand how you make these moves and you go out and you don't have a season that you want to have and you're safe for another year. That's just me.
How can your ass not be on fire when 9 coaches got fired, bro? And we talking about the likes, fired, stepped down. You talking about Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, like you talking about some solid coaches that lost their jobs, and even guys have been in their year 2. Raheem Morris lost his job. You feel me? Like, yeah, I don't know how anyone could sit around and be like, oh, well, this decision at OC means that he believes that he has time. Huh?
That's what I've been hearing.
That he has time?
That's one way to spin it. Like nobody. If you think that way, you gotta entertain the idea that maybe he couldn't.
Yeah, because that's a first year move, right? That's a first year move.
I mean that's bringing in Joe Witt Jr. to run the defense. But at least Joe Witt has been calling. He's been in the defensive space NFL wise for decades.
I'm about to say he's had 20 plus years.
Yeah, way more experience than Blough.
Yeah, so it's like when you break it down that way, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how that's buying time. And I think even from my angle, let's say that David Blough does succeed. I mean, I think all of us as Washington fans, we hope that he does succeed, right? Like, if he does succeed, he's probably going to get hired as a head coach next year. People are over here talking about, that'd be too young to make him a head coach. Well, he just got elevated to OC, motherfucker. Like, you don't think he gonna be head coach? Yeah. And you got guys 33 years old, like Udinski or whatever from Jacksonville getting looks.
They getting younger and younger.
Who even knows if he ends up landing a job? But if he balls out, if Jaden balls out within this scheme with David Blough, he's gone next year. You feel me?
Do you fire Quinn even if you have a good season? That's the difficult thing. Do you fire Dan Quinn if you're scared?
AP not going to do it, bro.
No, AP's not going to do it. And I don't think if they have a good season and make the playoffs, I don't think that they move along.
I don't think they should do it.
I don't think I would do it either. It's just now who's that next person up? You feel me? So that's why the staff hires matter, because you don't want to just keep bringing in new voices into that room, especially as you get closer to Jaden handling this contract situation, because this is the last year of enjoyment of paying him a rookie scale contract. You feel me? So if he balls out next year, who's going to be the next guy up within that staff? You can't say we don't know what's going on with Brian Johnson. We don't know what's happening with the wide receiver coach, which is Bobby Ingram at the moment, David Rye. We don't know what's happening with these guys, the tight end coach. Like, yeah, they brought in DJ Williams, Doug Williams' son. Glad to see nepotism working in black people's favor. But even with him, he's been in the league without his dad.
He got a good reputation, right? Even outside of the name.
He's been working with the Saints. Like, I've asked about him to a couple people that I know that work with him under that staff with the Saints. Like, yeah, he is solid dude. He's been around the league, but it's like outside of that, we don't know anything else, bro. Like, we don't know anything else, and that's the petrifying thing. It gotta go fast, because if it don't go fast, Dan Quinn is gonna be fired like during the season. And then I mean, I don't know. Let me not jump too far. Like, what is it? Put the cart before the horse or whatever. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just a bit frustrating because I thought we'd have like better answers on what this office is gonna look like, but we ain't got no damn clue. Like I ain't got a damn clue. And Amani, did something change? Did Harbaugh end up switching to Miami? I don't know. I seen him post like Harbaugh and Ian Cunningham in Miami.
Well, let me check. Or y'all check. Because what I'm about to do, we're gonna go ahead and take our ad break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about that defensive side of the football. Darren Wallace is having oh wow. That's rough. Okay. Y'all know what time it is, man. Let me go ahead and get the screen right. Get the screen right for your boy. It's time for them people over there at Underdog Fantasy. Football playoffs are here, and Underdog is the best place to get on all the gridiron action. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players can go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. Let me tell you what I'm looking at this week. First off, I was so out the loop over the past few days, bro. I didn't even know the matchups until this morning. And when I tell you I can't wait for Saturday, bro, you got Buffalo, Denver, San Fran, Seattle. And both those are on Sunday. And you got Houston, New England, LA, and Chicago. That Buffalo Denver game is gonna be fun. San Fran, Seattle. I'm a little sketchy about that one. I think Seattle. I don't think Seattle fucking around, bro. They ain't messing around. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry, Underdog. I apologize for my language. But let me start with Buffalo and Denver. So we're gonna do where is James Cook? I know James Cook got shut down against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I know he's going up against another top tier defense. But I don't care. We about to back up the boy James Cook. And I want to look at his receiving yards. He's at 93.5. We're gonna go higher on James Cook rushing and receiving yards, 93.5. We have receptions. Where is my guy? Khalil. Oh, there you go. Khalil Shakir. He's at 5.5 receptions. We're gonna go higher on Shakir, 5.5 receptions. Receiving yards. While I do like Sutton often, I'm gonna still rock out with Sutton. 55.5 receiving yards for Cortland Sutton. And lastly, where is the guy? RJ Harvey. He's at 55.5 receiving yards. If there's one thing that Sean Payton going to do when he in this situation at home, first playoff game after a bye week against a shaky defense in terms of stopping the run, he going to tote that rock. So give me RJ Harvey, 55.5 rushing yards. So what are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code TRAPPERDIVE to score $75 in bonus entry when you play your first $5. That is promo code TRAPPERDIVE. Underdog, make picks, win money.
18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
All right. So the biggest news on that defense side of the ball is Washington did get a a coordinator interview with I guess he's former or free agent. Let's just say free agent coordinator Brian Flores. At one point when I first heard the news, it was reported from Ian Rappaport that Washington was hoping to. And then the next thing I heard was like on the day of the interview that he was scheduled to interview today, or he is interviewing today. And I believe that was today's Thursday. So I believe that was like Tuesday for Washington and Brian Flores. There's been a couple other ones that's been interesting. The pass game coordinator from Seattle. His name is, why do I have so of course I didn't save him. What's the dude's name, bro? Let me see. Washington Commanders offensive coordinator.
You mean Denard Wilson?
Nah, the dude
Jonathan Gannon?
Nah, the dude from Raiders? The dude from Seattle, the pass game coordinator.
Oh, yeah, Carl Scott.
Carl Scott. Yeah, Carl Scott. Jonathan Gannon has interviewed, and the Raiders defensive coordinator is also interviewed. I'm trying to pull up a list of the names to have in front of me. Here we go. All right, so where are y'all at with this process? I think my initial thoughts is I do think it is more understandable that Washington take their time or take a lengthier time to get this side right. I think that when you had to have a little urgency offensively, that's understandable. But the pool for them to pull from is kind of a little bit more vast. There's a lot of options. And there may be some that Washington wants to talk to that or maybe even like are really interested in hiring that maybe they can't because they're in the playoffs. I have no idea. But where are y'all at with the defensive coordinator search?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you in that. For one, when it came to the offensive coordinator search, I knew that would go by pretty quickly because again, I'm like, if you get rid of Cliff Kingsbury, you have to have his replacement in mind. But on the defensive side of the football, that spot has been vacant since you fired Joe Witt, well, at least demoted Joe Witt mid-season or whatever that was, and I think we pretty much knew Dan Quinn wasn't going to keep that role. So now you get to take your time a little bit, and you should take your time with this because if you're looking outside of the Dan Quinn familiarity tree, then you have to vet a lot of brains. You have to, see who's going to mesh, who's going to work with a Dan Quinn. Like Dan Quinn is the head coach. He already knows I'm a defensive guy. I got my own philosophies. Now, if I'm going in a different direction, I have to know that this guy, he can – he can take my defense to the next level. He can help me. Like we can help each other. We can feed off each other. We can work together. So you're going to have to interview a couple of guys. And I'm happy about the names that they brought in. We talk about a Brian Flores, who is the number one guy on that list, even though he may be a long shot because, he's interviewing for everyone. Everyone wants him, at least on the defensive side of the football. I'm not sure if he gets a head coaching job just because of the whole lawsuit situation he had in Miami, but he could get a head coaching job if it wasn't for that, he would be in line for that. Then you have a Jonathan Gannon, who was the head coach of the Cardinals, who had a successful defense at Philadelphia. Then you talk about a Patrick Graham with the Raiders. I know people frown when they talk about the Raiders. And, it's the Raiders, but the Raiders defense has never really been an issue. And I think Patrick Graham's a solid mind. Like, I don't think he's one of those guys who you look at and say, this guy can't coach because he coached for the Raiders or he coached for the Giants when they weren't good or whatever. No, that's not how you look at defensive coordinators. You look at the philosophies. You look at what they bring to the table. You look if they can call games and, it's a bunch of different aspects that go into that. So the names, even the Seattle guy. Now he's the only one on the list that I've heard that hasn't called any plays or hasn't, been a defensive coordinator. But he's coming from a proven system right now, a hot system in that Seattle system. Like I think highly of that Seattle defense. So the names that they kind of brought up for this search all intrigued me. Like to the point where if it's any one of these names, of course Brian Flores would be my number one. I'm happy with any of these guys, or at least I'm intrigued or excited about what they could bring to the table because at least we know what the pedigree that these guys come in with. So, again, it's going to come down to Dan Quinn and, how he feels like this person's going to bring to the culture of the team. If he could take this defense to the next level, but the names that he's brought in, how can you not like that group of names? Now, I don't know how much longer this is going to drag out. Maybe there is a couple of more names that's left in the playoffs or whatnot. but you have to be thorough with this because I maintain this. I mean, I understand how important the offensive side of the football is and getting Jaden's development right. But I feel like at this point in time for this season, or at least for this team going into this season, this defensive hire is probably the most important thing for me because of how bad that defense was. And I understand you still need talent, right? But at the same time, you still need to know if you can get a guy in here that can get more out of what you put on the football field. And that was my issue with last year's team, not even just last year's team, the last 2 years' team, is that they didn't get more out of anything with these guys. Like, even when you don't have a lot of talent, you want to see if a coach can get more out of the guys that he has. And we didn't see any evidence of that. So I want to see that even if you can't bring in the most talented defense this offseason, if you're still going to be, it's going to be a work of progress. You're not going to be the most talented defense overnight, but you want to bring in a coach in here that can at least get more out of what he has, even when he has the most talented defense out there. You want to see those guys come together and play for them. But even if when you don't have that, you want to see if they can get more out of those guys. So it's going to be intriguing to see what they end up or who they end up hiring for this.
Two names right quick before you go, AJ, that I did want to mention because we named a couple defensive coordinators. Denard Wilson, coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. Washington interviewed him for the defensive coordinator position. He was the Rams defensive quality control coach for a little bit. And then spent some time with Jets, Eagles, and the Ravens before he got his first coordinator job with the Titans in 2024, excuse me. And then Joe Cullen. Cullen is 58, Denard Wilson, 43. Talking about ages. Joe is a defensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's had stops with the Browns, Bucks, Ravens, all defensive line coach roles. So if you want to do your research on those defenses, and specifically the run game, that's a good deal. The Chiefs, and the reason why that name popped out to me is because the Chiefs and Ravens during this time has been pretty good against the run. But yes, in 2021, he was the defensive coordinator for the Jaguars, and then he went to the Chiefs back to defensive lines coach. His connection too, by the way, is with Lance Newmark, as he spent some time there in Detroit. By the way, so yeah, those are some two names that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defensive coordinator job is very important, right? Especially if Cliff Kingsbury wants to just be the principal of the school and he just wants to oversee everything.
You said Cliff Kingsbury?
I mean, Dan Quinn, my bad.
No, I'm at okay, all right.
Yeah, if Dan Quinn wants to be the principal of school, that hire means a whole lot, and he needs to be able to just lean on that person to run that room. And I feel like the leading candidate is Brian Flores, and I think that there is some serious consideration taking place there. Yeah, he probably should have got another look by now, especially when you see the likes of a Matt Nagy being mentioned with the Titans and guys that have already got who've already had a shot before getting other opportunities. But it's been 9 jobs out there. Only 2 places have interviewed Brian Flores for a head coaching job: Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore. He's not getting the job as a head coach.
I want to say that, bro, because those are 2 spots that actually is a good fit.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it possibly could make sense, but
also who else is interviewing for 5+ jobs?
I mean, there's a lot of guys that have a lot of interest elsewhere, and they're getting those requests. He's not getting those requests. I mean, let's look at John Harbaugh. He got a bunch of requests. There's other guys that have interviewed more than he has.
Well, that's Harbaugh. I'm talking about from a coordinator / assistant standpoint. I ain't talking about no 15-year head coach who's clearly highly respected. I'm talking about the same and equal level as Brian Flores. How many of them are getting 5+ interview requests for a head coach and coordinator spots? Only one that you could probably think of is Mike McDaniel. That's the only one that's getting multiple.
I think for me, and I put this out a long time ago, once I realized that Brian Flores was going to be a candidate for DC jobs because his contract expired at Minnesota, he will never be a head coach again in the NFL. Once you challenge that ecosystem it's never happening again. Like it is not taking place. So the rest of the names of that pool of interviews or candidates, whatever you want to call it, they're they don't do it for me. Like Jonathan Gannon, Denard Wilson, Patrick Graham, Joe Cullen, Carl Scott, they don't push the envelope. They're not someone that you can bank on that side of the ball definitively being good. And that's not to say that Brian Flores automatically gives you that, but you know with his strategy and his scheme and how he calls plays, you are more likely to impact the offensive side of the ball from how he calls plays. Whereas most of those other guys are from a traditional standpoint. And I think Washington already has some personnel that would fit well with what Brian Flores wants to do. And him even just coming to do the interview in person kind of tells you all. I think that we probably will have some type of answer over the weekend, um, as far as like where he ends up landing. But I can't see him getting the Pittsburgh Steelers job or the Ravens. And that's just my opinion.
But AJ, not just the
I know
head
we
coaching
prefer.
jobs. What about defensive coordinators? What makes Washington more attractive than, let's say, in Minnesota for a defensive coordinator job, or anywhere else that will possibly need a defensive coordinator? I mean, he has
So
options.
So that's a good question, Dre. The reason why Washington would be a more likely place for him if he wanted to get in where he fits in at DC is because he could return to Minnesota and be the defensive coordinator over there. But Kevin O'Connell is not getting fired anytime soon from Minnesota. So he never will have a chance necessarily to elevate beyond being defensive coordinator for the Vikings. He'll just be stuck there as that position role and hoping each year his name gets mentioned with the likes of whoever's in the open market for
What
teams
if he
looking
likes
for
it
a head
there?
coach. Huh?
That's another thing that people aren't considering. Like, what if he just likes it in Minnesota? Like, Kevin
Yeah,
O'Connell was the
yeah,
person who gave him his next spot out after the Pittsburgh job because he was the LB's coach there, and then he went to go be DC with Minnesota. Like, he may really just love to thug it out with O'Connell. Like, that's something that he's probably strongly considering. They actually already mentioned that they got a strong offer to try to bring him back. Which is
then it
interesting
would
because
then it would have been done,
no, that's
right?
no, that's what I was about to say. I'm about to say it's
Yeah.
interesting because it's
So
like if you had a strong offer that he liked, then maybe he would come back. But like I think people who are considering who are considering why Minnesota over Washington, I think is the mistake. I think people need to exclude Washington out of the entire equation and be a little bit more objective because there may be other situations that he may be interested in. But also, again, back to the Minnesota part, he may just truly love the situation he has there and just wants to coach an elite defense and like stay away from all the bullshit that you alluded to, AJ. Like maybe he don't want to be a head coach. And you know what, bro? I like my situation over here. They give me my space. My team, my unit loves me. I fuck with O'Connell. I actually, and people don't think about it, Kevin O'Connell ain't ever gone too long without a quarterback. So if they ain't getting JJ, they're gonna find somebody.
yeah, but I mean, I think Brian Flores wants to be a head coach again, right? But let's say you come to Washington, what makes Washington interesting for you is you have a franchise quarterback, but you also have a head coach that's on a hot seat. So if I perform there, I got the opportunity to shine within that office right now and get elevated to that head coaching job. And Dan Quinn is known to be such a great connector of people, like motivator. Everyone has spoken highly of him in all walks of the NFL world, right? Adding him to someone that you have worked with also helps to expand your resume and how you are viewed to other teams, and having that guy vouch for you when you go to interview for these other possible opportunities as a head coach. But you also get a great opportunity of working hands on with maybe that Adam Peters, Josh Harris. You get to rub shoulders with them more, whatever the case, and put yourself at the top of the ladder and being that head coach. Because we don't know what's going to happen with Dan Quinn, but we know definitively in Minnesota, KOC is not going nowhere. Even if this JJ McCarthy thing fails, he's going to get another shot to go get another quarterback. You feel me? So that's where I would think at it from a Brian Flores, and the work environment is going to be conducive, and I could be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. I mean, he doesn't know if he's going to get a job as head coach, but I feel like if he felt that close to Minnesota and that confident, and he knows where he stands, the deal should have been done by now. It's not hard. You already got familiarity there.
I'll be quick, Trey. I was gonna say I do agree with you from the standpoint of not necessarily. Well, actually, let me just be clear. Who's that said it in the chat? The Scrolls. The Scrolls said Flores isn't making a lateral move. He'll take a college job before that. I don't agree. I do think he can take a lateral move if the money is right. Like, and if you're willing to pay, and Washington is a team
and add
that will be willing
coach, and add assistant head coach to the title.
Washington will be a team that's willing to pay. And there's probably going to be other teams out there if he did take lateral moves. I mean, he didn't take really. I think correct me if I'm wrong. We're probably the only team that interviewed him for the DC spot. Like,
so far, yes.
Yeah, the other only teams interviewed him for head coaching or requested for head coaching. So
I think in Baltimore he might have did an interview for both. Or
I
might be
just head coach
with Cliff, because I know Cliff interviewed for both in Baltimore.
Yeah. I think he was just head coach for Baltimore.
Okay,
and Flores is from New York. He's from New York. Like, he closer to New York than being in Minnesota. Like,
so
I don't think that's a motivation.
Yeah,
I think money and opportunity are the motivation. And if you break it down, if you are Brian Flores, you're looking at how can I make my name more comfortable with these owners. Yes, I work with KOC, but Dan Quinn is respected with all the ownership groups in the NFL and most of the top ranks, like from GM standpoint and from position coaches in the NFL. I can now rub shoulders with him again. I can rub shoulders with someone like that, as I've already done with a Mike Tomlin. Like, I went from being a head coach and I took a position coach job. I went and became the linebackers coach for the Steelers. You feel me? So I don't think it's beneath him to do a lateral move like some people are saying in here. This man went from running the damn team in Miami.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I just thought about it. I did casually just mention he went LB to DC after Miami. So yeah, it is what it is.
That makes sense though. I mean, if you think about it, because at that point he didn't know if he was going to work in the NFL.
Yeah, he had a terrible reputation after Miami. Yes. Here's what I was going to ask you though. And Drake,
you got motherfuckers like Ryan.
I know. So
time heals a little bit.
So here's my thing, and Dre, you got the floor. My question, this is my question, and you can comment however you was going to comment, but I do have a question I wanted to ask. How often nowadays, anyway, like, people talk about these scenarios, but how often nowadays do coordinators get promoted after their head coach gets fired? Like, y'all gonna have to remind me about the last time it happened, because we keep talking about things like this, and we talking about that's in my head, off the top of my head, that shit is rare. That shit don't happen like that. So, like, I think that scenario is kind of overstated too. But hold on, Dre, go ahead. Dre, you got because Dre ain't talked for a while, bro.
Yeah, no, because Mual, you bring up a great point, and I don't think that should be anyone's motivation that I'm going to take this job because this guy might not be here that long. If anything, I can see him taking the job, looking at a Dan Quinn as this is a guy I can pull from, because remember, his reputation was bad in Miami for a lot of different reasons, and Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of described him as poison. But when you hear people talk about a Dan Quinn, you describe Dan Quinn as way different than that. And I think Cliff Kingsbury will attest to the fact that he probably learned a lot from a Dan Quinn. Like, you can say a lot about Dan Quinn. You can say, I don't like him as a coach. He should be fired because he's not doing this, that, or the third. But one thing you can't say about Dan Quinn is that his players don't love him and that they don't play for him through the end. Like, even if, they're not winning, whatever, they still love Dan Quinn and they play for him through the end. And what Washington had was more of a talent issue and an injury issue versus this coach just can't get these guys right issue. So, you look at Dan Quinn, you can still pull from a guy like that. And I think, if a Brian Flores was looking to go the Washington route or, go this route for a lateral move, I think that will be probably one of his motivations that, I can at least learn from a Dan Quinn before I do become a head coach again. But I do not think that his motivation would be Dan Quinn could be fired next year. I'm going to snake this guy and take his job. And as Mual alluded to, it just doesn't happen that often when you talk about promotions. I remember back in the day when we always talked about Greg Williams was going to be Joe Gibbs' successor. He's going to be the next coach of, the Washington Redskins at the time. And what happened? That never happened. You know what I'm saying? They ended up hiring Jim Zorn after Joe Gibbs left because, at the end of the day, you got to go out and interview, new people. You're probably looking at the next hottest thing. You're not just going to say, yeah, I'm just going to give our promotion to the next hottest guy. It just doesn't happen in the NFL. But again, I don't know what Brian Flores' motivations are, but if I had to assume, it would have to be money. Like money would be high outside of head coaching. Assuming he doesn't get a head coaching job, I would think money, and also not even just money, but who has the tools that I can work with on a defense? Right now, when you look at a Minnesota defense versus a Washington defense doesn't have anybody. Like we're still talking about how much talent Washington's defense need. And other teams out here need defensive coordinators as well. And they're probably in much better positions than Washington when you talk about roster and personnel wise. So that's why I said, if you talk about a Brian Flores, not saying it can't happen. Just for me, I wouldn't get my hopes up too high. Like I don't want to put that, even try to get excited about it, even though I would love it and want it. But I would just wonder, what does Washington have to offer Brian Flores over anyone else if you're talking about a lateral move?
Yeah, and I didn't mean snake him, but it's just like it's no different than a guy being undrafted. Like when that undrafted process happens and teams are clamoring to sign guys, you're looking at the roster, seeing where you have an opportunity to best make that 53. So that's kind of what I was looking at it from a Brian Flores situation. It's like if I ultimately don't get these two jobs I interviewed for as head coach, if I go back to Minnesota, I'm running back the same thing with no option of possibly getting elevated anytime soon. Whereas in Washington, I do my thing how I believe I'm going to do my thing, and I also got a relationship with Adam Peters, being that they have their ties from New England, and this money that they could spend to help me even get a greater defense. I could possibly put myself in that situation to get elevated. Yeah, it hasn't happened a bunch of times, but it also ain't been a motherfucker really on those staffs that you would want to elevate from those situations. Because if you really a good enough team, you're getting plucked from every single year. I mean, we're seeing it from the 49ers tree to the Rams tree to the Kansas City Chiefs tree from different angles. This happened over the years with the Matt Nagy's or whatever the case is. We're not in the Eagles. Like Shane Steichen got his job, Jonathan Gannon, who I also would never hire as a DC. But yeah,
Why?
at the end,
I mean, just curious. Why?
I don't like his scheme. I just don't think that it fits, especially when you're looking at this particular defense. You need so many pieces with that particular scheme to make it work. And I just don't see Washington having the ability to acquire those guys to make that a well-oiled machine. I think the successful year that he had in Philly was was a one of a kind. Like him and Shane Steichen, they did their thing from an offensive standpoint and defensively. But that talent that he had in Philly was night and day in what he had in Arizona. And Arizona was a bottom tier defense overall. Like they showed up in a couple games, but from an overall perspective, they didn't do anything, and they went out and tried to acquire guys. I mean, they even took Josh Sweat from Philly. Like, ain't nothing happened with that. I would never hire that type of guy to run the show here. But I guess we possibly might learn something over the weekend because I expect some dominoes to fall with this coaching stuff. And with a guy like Flores, leases only two spots, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, as head coach options. And maybe he might just run it back with Minnesota. I don't know what that man thinking. I don't know what he got in mind, but that's how I would if I were okay. Hypothetically, if you guys were in Brian Flores' situation, you don't get the Baltimore, the Pittsburgh head coaching job. Would you run it back with Minnesota, or would you look at a new opportunity with Washington? No, with no bias put into it.
I mean, I would go with Minnesota, and strictly saying because this is a guy desperately trying to repair his reputation in the league, and he has done a great job in Minnesota where he knows that can work. And the reason why I think about this is almost kind of comparable to the Eric Bieniemy situation, whereas Eric Bieniemy was desperately trying to get a head coaching job, but he didn't have the options or even kind of the reputation that Brian Flores has at this point in this time, and he had to take a lateral move to Washington because Washington was the only team that would hire him as an offensive coordinator at that point in time. But Washington had Sam Howell at quarterback. Now Eric Bieniemy will never get another, probably not even another offensive coordinator job, not let alone a head coaching job. But he will never get another offensive coordinator job. So think about Brian Flores if he comes to a Washington team. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of risk for a guy that has a reputation to build. And if it doesn't work, no one's thinking about Brian Flores in terms of a head coaching job. Maybe not even highly as a defensive coordinator at that point. Just because Washington, what they have right now could tarnish you. That's just the truth of the matter. Now, if it works, then he probably is an automatic head coaching candidate at that point. It's a high risk, high reward. But for me, in his position, I'm taking the lower risk. And Minnesota's the lower risk right now because you know what you've done there and you know what you probably can continue to do there because of what they have in place already.
Yeah, the overhaul that's about to happen in the offseason for Washington is something where it's like I don't have an answer, right? But that's something that Flores is going to have to consider. Like when you look at this roster, I'm sure he's going to find some pieces that he can work with. I don't think it's about to be any on the defensive line outside of Kinlaw, and I would have said Dorrance, but he's coming from an ACL injury. Like Johnny Newton, he's young, you can mold him. But like you got 3 levels that you're gonna have to repair. And you're gonna have to work with Adam Peters to do that. And do you think you're gonna have enough time to transform this defense into the vision that you see? Do you think you got the pieces in place that understand the scheme the way that your mob in Minnesota do? And that's not to say that it needs to be a top 5 overnight. I just think when the battle comes down to like fit and also like talent deficiency, like the level, because I don't think Minnesota's perfect, but they understand Flores and what he wants, and that's kind of the difference here in Washington. It's like, like the coordinator was bad, but like these players weren't fucking helping at all. They play like some airheads sometimes, bro. So like that's kind of the thing. What would I rather do? I don't know. I mean, if I'm him, that's the battle that I got. It's like, do I want to waste my time or do I want to gamble on Washington and the GM getting the pieces right? Do I want to go where I know the pieces are right and we just build from there? Who knows, bro? Let's check in with the chat. Scroll said he's staying in Minnesota. Ben said we're so talent deficient. Well, you got to think though. You saying test the market again next year? He's not gonna. If he goes back, he's not gonna sign a 1-year deal in Minnesota. Where we at? Okay, so we only had 2 options. 2 responses to that. All right. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for us, fellas. I don't think we have any. Oh, Aoshi said his decision is based on how they're paying, how they're gonna pay him. Which if you're a mercenary, that's exactly how you handle it. Like, who's gonna pay me the most? Who gonna me the bag? All right, cool. I rock out with Jaden and Dan and AP and all them guys over there.
I think it's a bag and assistant head coach role, which I look real quick. Mike Penton from the Vikings, he recently retired, and he was the assistant head coach.
Yeah.
And no, we're not talking about no damn stadium. What is there to talk about? Just look at the pictures.
The design.
But I do
until
fuck with the
2030.
fuck with the rendering. I ain't
No,
gonna
it's
lie.
nice.
Them
It's
Jones
nice.
cold. That shit cold.
It's tough. It's tough. It's
That
tough.
shit cold. They just need to have I'm about to say something crazy. They just need to have some good bars and stuff like that in the area. You know, that's it. I'll leave it there.
They're gonna turn it into a whole plaza.
Yeah. Have a little secret, like a secret door. You gotta do like a knock 3 times and it take you to like the best strip club in the city. Like something like that.
Stadium strippers up
Hey,
there. But...
we should. What y'all doing this weekend?
I got a lot going on this weekend.
Well, you with family time, bro?
Well, son got live basketball games this weekend. So.
I knew it. That's why I asked. It's AAU season, bro. AAU and Boys and Girls Club. I don't know which one he in.
Yeah, he doing county right now, but
county.
It's gonna be tough for me. I'm gonna be tired as a mug.
What you want, AJ?
I wasn't planning on doing anything, man. I just thought a friend invited me to a little knock on the door speakeasy lounge in DC. So I just thought of y'all. Don't have to go this weekend, but yeah, it's a little knock on the door joint.
Hey,
real nice.
Next weekend,
it's real nice. It's real nice, but knock on the door. Then there's another lounge. I actually met the chef of this new like Caribbean restaurant called Isla last week. It's over there by Shoto and like Grassy Nona in DC. If y'all
that sounds expensive. I don't know shit about that.
Well, I'm free next weekend, bro. We all doing something next weekend.
It was nice there, but they also have like a separate spot right across called Good Love. It's a lounge as well. But I mean, yeah, food was banging. Food was banging, but I mean, yeah, I know it. Maul just came from Cartagena where he was eating steaks for $15.
Maul
I'm about to say, boy, I checked
on that trip.
Hey, bro,
did you go?
Hey, I swear, bro, I checked out. I checked my bank account when I got back. I was surprised. Like I spent bread, but I spent less than what I thought I spent. So I was relieved in that aspect. But I spent some. I spent some motherfucking bread when I went to Delirium, bro. When I went to drinks all day nonstop. that's where most of the money went.
The drinks like $7 US, bro.
No, bro, not when you not certain places. Not certain places. That's what I say. Delirium was like 20.
Oh yeah, Delirium. They want you to buy a bottle.
I was getting doubles. So look, because I went to Delirium the first. Bro, my man, shout out to Scrim. It was his B-Day.
You went solo.
This nigga Scrim, bro, he's out. Like he can't hang when he started drinking, bro. And that's my first time. Like I've been on a trip with him. It was 3 of us. We went on a couple trips. But this is my first time with him. It was just me and him. Bro, the dude is out like 9:30 at night, knocked out.
Oh no.
You sound like me.
I'm like Scrim. Like I'm not about to shake this nigga down. I'm like Scrim, come on, bro. And it's 2 nights in a row. This is my first 2 nights he sleep. First 2 nights. Too? Yes, he's the expert. He's the expert there, bro. Like he's the one who's been like 7, 8, 9 times. So I'm like,
that's probably why he went to sleep. That's I'm like
Scrim. I'm like Scrim. He just can't hang when he drinks. So I'm like, bro, get your ass up, bro. He talking in circles, eyes rolling in the back of his head. I said, all right, cool, bro. You do your thing, bro. So I went to Delirium. Boy, got the Delirium, posted up at the bar. I was like, damn, this shit packed. You know they packed with. But I was like, this shit packed. This shit packed, boy. I got to the bar. I said, let me get, I got my little styrofoam cup, got the double shot of tequila in that joint, post up. But when I tell you that, boy, the DJ was cranking, bro. Like, it may have just been my lucky night. DJ was cranking. Vibes was out there. I'm over here sipping my tequila, bro. But to the point, we could talk about all the rest of that offline. The point of that though, the double shots was hitting me for like double shots was hitting me for like closer to like 30-ish.
They had American prices.
No. It wasn't American price. That's what it converted to when you spent your bread.
That's American prices to me, $30.
Yeah, that's American. Yeah, for a double. Yeah, for a double.
Right? They had American prices.
Yeah, for the double. So,
but it's expected. It's expected there because that is the main attraction for Americans coming over there. That venue.
I'm not complaining. You like because you asked me. So like by the end of the night, bro, AJ, when I tell you, bro, I probably had like 4 doubles. Four doubles.
Like a damn fish, dog.
I gave a drink to 2 youngins. I'm like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up with you? And then I came back the next day. Cause Scrimp now my man's up. He said he want to go to Delirium. It's on a Sunday, bro. It was empty like the whole night. But we still posted up. But you know who in there, regardless of if it's empty.
Oh yeah,
them things. So we stayed in there for a little bit, and that's when he told me. When I looked at the joint, I bought him a shot because it was his birthday. I bought him a double, and I bought myself a double. And I looked at the joint, and he told me because he knew how to do the conversion just quick in his head. And I was like, damn, bro, you just bought this joint. This damn near, this damn near $60, $70. I said, you're lying. And that's when it clicked. I was like, bro, I bought like 4 or 5 of them joints last night.
I gave you the currency converter app, bro.
I want to think about that at Delirium.
Man, well, I thought I gave. Yeah, like that's the only spot out there that's gonna tax you like that. Everywhere else is like a double probably would have cost you $12.
Yeah, so that's where I got spanked. That's from a drink standpoint. That's where I got spanked. So but to the point though, this weekend, like Drake said, bro, I spent some money. I ain't spending as much as I thought. I may be outside. I'm gonna try my best to stay inside though. Yeah,
let me know what's up next weekend. I'll be out.
Matter of fact, payday is next weekend. So
we do get paid next week.
Yeah, we get paid. Matter of fact, I think we get paid Friday because of the holiday. Saturday because of the holiday.
No, we usually get paid on the Wednesday. Oh, you talking about this weekend?
Federal holiday, MLK weekend.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, MLK is Monday.
We'll see. All right, hey, y'all take it easy. The spots in the Walls City are cheaper for future references. I'm gonna keep that in mind after I come back from Medellin.
I told him. I thought I told him that.
Oh, you did ask me.
That's where Delirium used to be.
Yeah, that's where it used to be.
And then they moved it. So like Monkey Bar definitely would have ranged cheaper. But
the 2 nights I was there in the Wall City, it was Monkey Bar was Nathan. It was empty both nights, bro. I was pissed. But I did hang out. I hung out. I wish I knew the name of the spot, Amani, but I was in Wall City last couple of nights. Yep. All right, that's it. We back next week, man. Enjoy y'all weekend. Stay safe. We out here. Peace.
Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Damn, set. Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.